Right? The train cars weren't as nice in the colored areas, right? The all black schools weren't as nice as the all white schools. Okay, so that's a major outcome. So, how do African Americans respond to these Jim Crow laws? So, we're going to talk a little bit about now. And there are going to be a lot of African Americans that are going to emerge as leaders of the African American community in America during this time. And the first person who emerges as a leader of the African American community during this time that we're going to talk about is Booker T. Washington. Okay, he's going to believe that equality could be achieved through vocational education or career and technical training. So he believed that if African Americans learned a trade, okay, they learned some sort of valuable skill that all Americans valued, that they would begin to be treated equally. Okay, and all Americans would continue to value them and value their expertise. So he recommended that African Americans learn a skilled trade, like become carpenters, plumbers, painters, tinsmen. Okay, he claimed even go into the culinary arts, become a chef, a brick, a stonemason. Okay, he's going to accept social segregation. He's going to say that, okay, it's okay for us to be segregated now, but we're going to prove our worth in society by learning these valuable skills. And once we learn these valuable skills, Americans, regardless of their race, are going to value us. Okay, and that's what's ultimately going to put an end to segregation. Okay, so if we had to summarize Booker T. Washington's views, we might say something along the lines that he believed education and African Americans entering into skilled professions would put an end to segregation. That's what he thought. Now, let's talk about another African American leader who emerges as a big leader, an influential leader in the African American community during this time. He goes by the name of W.E.B. Du Bois. And he's going to believe in full political, civil, and social rights for African Americans immediately. Okay, he thinks, he's one of the first African Americans, to get a college degree from Harvard University. Okay, which is still today considered to be one of the world's top universities, and it certainly was considered to be one of the top universities during that time. So he's well known as a highly educated African American who heavily opposed Jim Crow laws and segregation. He's calling for an immediate end to them. They're just wrong, and they're putting African Americans at a disadvantage. Does he have a point? Are black schools as good as white schools during this time? On average, no, they're not. Okay, so that's a big, big reason why W.E.B. Du Bois wants to put an immediate end to segregation. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Ida B. Wells now. Okay, she's going to emerge as a very influential leader within the African American community during this time. Okay, she's going to fight against lynching. And lynching is the killing of people without legal trials for alleged offenses. Okay, so there was no proof that people committed a crime, but there were these groups of people who would put them to death. Okay, and both Black and white people were put to death by these lynching groups. Okay. So a majority of lynchings that are occurring after the Reconstruction era were being suffered by African Americans. Okay. Ida B. Wells Barnett is going to publicize the lynchings in newspaper articles and other writings. She's going to make people aware of them. Eventually, our government becomes aware of them, partly because of people like Ida B. Wells Barnett, who are making people aware of what's going on in some of these southern states and throughout the United States. And she does a great job of articulating why there needs to be an end put to them. Okay. So why they need to discontinue and why they're such a bad thing. All right. And she also proposes how the government and other people put an end to them. Okay. And the government is able to do a better job after being made aware of what's going on to put an end to these lynchings. All right, that'll be it for our discussion today. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time.